Welcome back to another episode of The Playbook. Just finished up looking at an email that I just received from an owner. And this is when you know that ChatGPT has gone way too far. So I was getting involved in an email chain because essentially a tenant scammed an owner and scammed us as a brokerage, where they moved into a property. They sent screenshots of payment of the agency fee, the deposit, and the rent. The key handover was done. The person moved into the apartment, and then the money never reached the account. And it turns out that the tenant actually forged the screenshots of the deposit, the agency fee, and the rental payment. And at that stage, the client already had been living in the apartment. And the broker actually said that security had said something to her weird, that every time that this client has come in to do the viewings in this building, she's done about 15 or 20 viewings at this stage. But they said that the weird thing was that the client, where's my screen gone? They said that the client turned up in the exact same clothes every single time. Which is, I mean, it's a red flag. It's a bit weird, but like, who are we to judge if some person just likes a certain outfit? So it turned out that this lady is not notorious, but this lady turns out that she scams owners into letting her stay in their apartment and then doesn't pay, and then she's stuck in the apartment. Apparently there's another apartment in that building that she currently was staying since October without paying, which is crazy. It feels like within the last 6 weeks, there has been so many of these problems between owners and tenants that I've had to step in and send some emails. So anyways, the broker asked me to email the owner and just say, well, what we're doing in order to rectify the issue. I sent an email saying that we're looking into it, that we're going to escalate this matter further if the tenant continues to not pay the rental payment. But I also outlined to him that we are not obliged to take this person to court for non-payment of the rental amount, because the relationship is between the landlord and the agent once the tenant moves in. Now, that's not to say that we're not going to be good brokers and help the owner or the tenant after they move in normal cases, but there's no liability for us there. It clearly states that in the contract that we're not liable, which is fine. Like our sole job as a brokerage is to conduct the lease and find a tenant for an apartment. But thereafter, it's not property management. We're not going to be in touch with the tenant or the owner after the move-in date. Obviously, I always recommend for brokers to stay in touch and do regular follow-ups with both parties in order to really nurture that relationship so that business can come back around in the future. But again, when shit hits the fan, it's not our fault and we've protected ourselves. And I emailed the owner exactly, what we were doing and what we wouldn't be doing. Then the owner got very defensive and sent me a big email back drawn from laws in Dubai in 1985 regulating the relationship with real estate brokerages and owners, and drawn from the RERA guidebook. And I said to the broker, I was like, is this guy have a legal background? And she was like, no, he can hardly even speak English. So I showed her the email and she was like, this is definitely ChatGPT. This guy could not formulate this. So I thought maybe that he could have been getting a lawyer involved to write me this email, but I was just like, okay, fuck this guy. So I copied all of his email, pasted it into ChatGPT, and I was like, please provide a rebuttal for this email drawn on laws of Dubai. I was like, if he's doing it, I'm doing it. And then ChatGPT curated this perfect email that absolutely put him in his box for each of the points. But then I was like, if he generated from ChatGPT, then I generated from ChatGPT. How are ChatGPTs fighting against each other when there should only be one right answer? Because my result was arguing the result that was also provided by ChatGPT. So what is actually going on here? Anyways, I didn't think he would respond to me, but sure enough, I woke up this morning and I saw the email come from him. I was like, I'm not going to check it. So I checked it there, and he had sent me the biggest essay ever where the first paragraph was his text, and then everything after that was clearly a different text size and a font size, and it's a completely different font. And it clearly was ChatGPT again. But the kicker was when I read to the last paragraph, he didn't exclude the last paragraph that says brackets your name, brackets your insert your company here, and then it shows a conclusion of from ChatGPT being like, this outlines clearly that the brokerage is at fault. This out and point two, this proves that the brokerage is actually liable for doing an extensive KYC and financially put you in a risky position. And also this clearly states that the brokerage should reimburse you 20,000 dirhams, something crazy. And I was like, oh my fucking God, he just outed himself. Like, he didn't even read the full thing. So like, how am I to assume that, you would even agree with what you have written if you can't even proofread it once? Like, once, just skim it and see that you've included the last paragraph that clearly says that it's ChatGPT. But again, I was like, how has this happened where ChatGPT is now arguing against itself? And this is lunacy. Neither of us are arguing against each other. We're just getting our ChatGPT to argue against each other. And that's happened a few times with different other things as well. So it's just like, how extensively are people using this? Anyways, I replied, I don't know if he's going to be happy, but I replied saying, if you could please refrain from using ChatGPT during this conversation, as I am unsure actually what your points are. If you please refer to the last paragraph of your email, you will see that you still haven't removed the conclusion and the last paragraph from an online software. So I'm unsure I would like to solve this amicably. I'm not sure if you even agree with the points that you've stated, because it clearly shows that you haven't read the entire thing. So I would love to be him when he opened that email and being like, oh fuck, fuck, I didn't take out the last bit, because everybody's sending these mad emails and just pretending like it's them, and you low key know that it's not from them. You know it's from ChatGPT, but this blatantly shows it. So I would love to see what his response is going to be. And I don't really want to get into this further, because he started threatening that he's going to file a lawsuit and all this crack. And it's just not really, like, it just gets to a certain point where I'm just like, I actually couldn't be bothered. Like, this isn't that deep. Why is somebody, trying to shift the blame on us? Like, what happened in that scenario is that the clients that moved in that scammed him ended up moving out a week later. So like, your apartment was occupied for a week. It's not the end of the world, my God. And anyways, if it's anybody you're going to have to go after, it's the tenant. By the way, you actually haven't even registered. You didn't ask. You said that you didn't need an Ajari because you wanted to do bills included. So, I mean, that's kind of your fault, because legally there's no standing from a normal contract, because you didn't want an Ajari as an owner. So I don't know, like, there's been a few cases like this where I'm just sending emails and smoking some people. But like, I suppose that's part and parcel when you're doing a lot of rental deals as a company each month, that there's going to be these cases. But really battling with the fact that every time I have to solve the same issues. There's not bigger issues. I just have to solve the same issues because there's brand new brokers in every month. And each of the brokers that come in are trying to solve, they have the problems from the previous brokers that I've already solved. So it can be quite repetitive in that sense. And going through the same things. I do enjoy kind of getting new people into the company and building on the people who are currently there, so we can actually provide a good groundwork and a good framework for the company forward. But I definitely think that has gotten, as the team grows, I mean, like, it can get quite overwhelming, so to speak, and kind of quite frustrating, to be honest. But I think it's removing any sort of emotion out of the situation. And that goes for anybody who might be in this industry, or anybody who's dealing with any sort of problems. And A reason as to why I've become such a good problem solver is because I remove any sort of emotion out of it. Like, I mean, just because somebody says they're going to pursue us legally doesn't mean that I should have an emotional or psychological response to that, or it shouldn't make me feel afraid or intimidated, or that I should go straight to the CEO and be like, oh, this is what has happened. It's just like, no, let's try and solve the problem ourselves. Let's see how it plays out. And let's not just take what everybody says as face value and then just try and problem solve. And then in the event that it was escalate further, then we can go and ask someone, this is the issue. These are the potential solutions. Which would you go for? That's a key one when it comes to problem solving. Like recently, I've just had a deal. I hopefully go through where this Form F was signed in sales. And there was a problem where the buyer was going to pull out last minute. And speaking with the seller's agent, I was like, okay, this is what he has said, and here's our two potential solutions. Which do you think the owner would go for? So, like, I think bad problem solvers run to someone and it's just like, this is my problem. Oh my God, this is a fire. Please put it out. Rather than like, this is a fire. Should I use this extinguisher or should I use this? And that's a good problem solver because they have already taken the initiative to think through the problem and not react to it straight away and think about the potential solutions. I touched upon this in all avenues of my life, inside and outside work. Whenever there's a problem, then I'm already thinking about the solution. Now, that doesn't always really work when it comes to personal relationships, because sometimes there are issues and sometimes there are things that people are suffering with, and you can run straight with the solution straight away. But in terms of my professional life, it seems to work quite well. And I think that is one massive aspect of being a successful broker, is how well you problem solve, and looking at the problems of your clients and understanding that they have problems that you need to solve. Because if you're a leasing agent, then all you have to do is stick with your client and problem solve until they decide to rent, because the majority of the time a tenant is going to rent. The majority of the time a tenant is going to rent. It mightn't be through you, it mightn't be that area, but they will rent something because they have to if they're on a strict deadline. Getting clear on what their strict deadline is super, super important. And then if you're a sales agent, not all buyers are going to buy. They might just be kicking tires. They might just be finding out exactly what's available in the market. They might go and do some viewings and then decide, you know what, I'm actually not going to buy it. Maybe it's not a right decision. But with a tenant, it's like nobody's really wasting their time. Now, you do get people who do waste time and they're just interested in taking a look at some other communities when they're not actually even that interested in moving there. But the majority of the time, tenants are going to rent and they're going to be that bit more serious. And I think the key to understanding who's serious and who's not is through qualification. One of our top brokers, or one of the top leasing brokers, that has done 70 rental deals in the last 10 months, which is insanity, absolute insanity. He stood up on a Monday morning meeting and was talking about some of the things that works well for him. And within that was qualification and the importance of qualification. Like, this guy has 37 listings, and because he's in a transition period, it means that he can list leasing, he can list rentals and sales, but he has, God, it could be, 20 rental listings and 17 sales listings. It's bonkers what this guy's been able to do. He's only joined the company for like 3-4 weeks ago. So even just from the admin side of things and how time efficient he must be, like, I mean, a listing is going to take, it could take 30 minutes. Like, and so we're talking, nearly 20 hours just of admin work. And how have you fit that in? It's not like all he's been doing is admin work. But what he spoke about was qualifying and picking the right clients, because when you've got a number of listings like that, if you've got 37 listings where you really should be getting to as a broker here, you can start becoming super picky with the clients that you decide to continue and rent with. And Unfortunately, you're not going to be able to work with everybody. Unfortunately, clients are going to be resistant and really not allow you to qualify them because they're like gatekeeping information and they don't trust you as a broker. And it's not your job to try and win them over and qualify them extensively if they're not really playing ball. You've got the luxury to do that if you've got a lot of listings because you could be getting 20, 30, 40 leads per week. So if you're getting 20, 30, 40 leads per week, on the absolute top end, it would be 40. Realistically, it could be around 20. If you're getting 20 clients inquiries per week, then you're picking the most serious people based of the conversations that you've had. Not only just the most serious people, but the people that you've had the best relationship. And you can clearly strike up a good common ground and strike up a good connection and prospect well. Some people aren't going to let you qualify them. But for example, in June 2023, a client was sent through me first to another broker who had one unit in the area that I worked in, but for some reason, I don't know why, he decided to send the lead on because that property was rented and he actually didn't know the area. So the lead was sent on to me, and by the time the client came around to me, he was super pissed off because he'd been passed from pillar to post. Straight away, I was like, this is a great opportunity for me because I can actually provide some value here and then stick out quite easily because I love somebody who's I always like dealing with angry customers because it's something that I always found quite easy to get them to a place of being calm by using some of the tools from Never Split the Difference from Chris Voss, is repeating some of the last words that they've said, understanding where they're coming from and labeling some of the emotions that they might feel. It's just like, on the call, it could have been, yeah, look, that sounds frustrating. I'd be quite annoyed if I was you. And he'd be like, yeah, I'm annoyed. It's like, yeah, look, I completely understand. And then it was just kind of building a bit of rapport. I gave him a call. We striked up a really good connection. He clearly saw that I knew exactly what I was talking about in my area. And this was only after, 5 months, 4 months in the industry. So I clearly knew a lot about my area because I'd specialized in a certain cluster of buildings. And I outlined, I qualified him to a good degree. I asked him, how much does he know the area? What has he viewed so far? When does he need to move? What happens if he can't move within that time frame, etc., etc. And then he had planned some viewings with another broker for units that I was going to show him, and he cancelled those viewings. And we built up this good connection where he started sending me over listings. I was able to get him the unit numbers, and we were able to take a look at some of those properties. Within a short period of time, I knew that 100% I'm going to get a rental with this guy. I just needed to stick with him. And I couldn't get an option for him. And the unit that was perfectly priced, that was absolutely perfect for him, was listed with an exclusive broker whose relative actually owned the property. So trying to get in touch with the owner was impossible. Anyways, I set up a viewing with the guy. He actually went for it, he rented that through me. I always knew when he decided that he was going to buy that he would come back around. But I could clearly tell from him that he was going to be one of the people that I would end up renting with, because I was getting a ton of leads per week, and it was up to me to decide who to work with, because I couldn't be doing ridiculous amount of viewings every single day with all of these random people who were just asking for a viewing, asking for a viewing, asking for a viewing. I was putting a lot of my time into this individual because I knew he was closest to close. I knew he was most serious. I knew exactly what he wanted to the series, to the floor, to the building itself. I knew exactly what he wanted. So I gave it my all and worked with him, which meant that I could provide an unbelievable service. And obviously I knew that he was most likely to close. So I could have put some other people on the back burner, and that's okay. It's like picking your hand. Know when to bet when you've got a good hand. And that's when I decided to bet. I bet with my time, and I proceeded with that client, and thankfully he rented a property. Fast forward a year and a half, nearly 2 years, he's come back around, still living in the same apartment, and he just decided to buy. And that's the same property that I just told you that I have signed a Form F on. So going from a 200,000 rental split deal into a 4.5 million sale within a year and a half, not bad returns. Not bad returns. But the crux of what I'm trying to get to here is understanding that you need to qualify your clients, but you also need to choose the person in which do you want to qualify, and trying to pick out the most serious people. Now, the broker on Monday spoke about what he does in order to try and qualify clients is sending them a standard text and asking them, this is exactly what I need from you in terms of main qualifying points. He has a standard text written out that he copies and pastes and just asks them to fill it in. As my time in a broker, I even toyed with doing a Google Sheets or a Google form where I'd send them over the link and ask them to fill it out. Now, I think there was a bit too much friction in that, but you get the point. I'm trying to qualify somebody super efficiently and then from there determine exactly who's the best person. This works in rentals because in rentals you can get that large amount of inquiries on a week by week basis. Same isn't the same doesn't go for sales because you've got a reduced amount of inquiries per week. So you have to change the way in which you do it and you have to spend a lot of the time on the phone. Now, it's really still important to qualify somebody on the phone, but if after a few messages they keep not allowing you to call or they've got a non-local number, then I would resort to qualifying in the way that which this person might do it. And then from there, they get a clear indication of who this person is, how serious they are, when they need to move, if they've got their MSID, all that stuff. Because in his area, it's important to ask specifically that question because a lot of the people who are renting there are brand new. So for him, this is a good way to pick his winner. This is a good way to play the system. And this is a good way to determine who is the closest to close, who is the most likely to rent a property to him. And this goes back to being time efficient and being so specific with your time and being ruthless with where you allocate your time as well, because you can't unfortunately help everybody. You can't unfortunately work with every single lead that comes through. Some people are less serious than others, and some people you're not really going to be able to build a decent amount of rapport with. Now, you get the luxury to be able to do this and to be able to be picky only by having the listings. Because if you've got 5 listings and you're only getting 5 inquiries per week, then you can give a really good service for all 5. But again, 1 out of 5 might be serious. None out of 5 might be serious. But I guarantee if you're getting 20 or 30 leads, the likelihood that a few more people will be serious is just probability. It's just a numbers game. And because people are so ready to rent, you can be super efficient and be okay with the fact that, you're not going to be given the most amazing service to everybody, because people unfairly say that, this is how to be a broker and this is exactly how you should treat all your clients and this is exactly what you should do. But there's times in which that I had to reduce my service or decrease, or streamline the process with sometimes it taking a hit on customer experience. And it's well, what are we aiming for? What are we being rewarded for? And we're not being rewarded for an amazing client experience. We're being rewarded for the amount of deals that we close. Now, that's not me saying the month in which that I closed my most amount of deals that people didn't get a good service. They still did. There was no real issues, but it wasn't exactly perfect like I would have wanted it to be. I was forgetting little things when it came to the deals, and it wasn't smooth on all fronts when it came to the move-in process. And it didn't go exactly to plan, but nothing bad happened. But what I'm trying to say is that you need to understand what are you being rewarded for, and that's the amount of deals that you close, because that's where you earn the commission. So it's okay with reducing the quality of your service. You'll still be better than the majority of the brokers if you're listening to this, but it's okay to pick the right people. It's okay to decide to work with one person more seriously than the other because this person seems closest to close. And you have to paint a picture in your head of who exactly your client is and what exactly are they looking for. Because the moments in which that I know that a deal could fall through at any minute is the moments in which that I know that I haven't qualified somebody fully. And it was the same. This is actually something that just came to me. It was the same when I was selling broadband. Sometimes I was, let's say for example, on a day-by-day basis, I could do 10 sales. In the morning, I might have only done 1 or 2. And then it comes to the afternoon, and I'm like, shit, I need to do a lot more sales by the end of this day. The answer is, let me speak to the most amount of people by the end of today and get the most amount of calls in. And on the calls, I had to reduce the amount of qualifying I was doing and asking them exactly about their current service, because I knew the only way in which I could get from call to call to call to call to call to call to call was by not spending as much time on each call. So I spent less time qualifying people. And that put me in a risky position because I knew somebody who I didn't qualify. If when I'm moving the process through them and I'm proceeding on my computer and being like, would you like to add this? This is the price, these are the terms, that this person could pull out any second, that this person could genuinely just hang up the phone at any second. But I could feel that inside of me. I could feel that, hold on, I don't know what this person really wants, but I know that they want the broadband, but I don't know what the issues they're currently facing with their current service provider. So I took a risk and I try and get to the end of the call and close them quite quickly. But I also was taking a risk in the fact that last minute they could pull out. At the last minute, they could be like, give me an objection. And because I haven't qualified them, or because I haven't prospected correctly at the start of the call, that I wouldn't be able to objection handle with proof of things that they had already said. Because if halfway down the call they say, actually, I don't think I'm going to go for this, I couldn't be like, well, but you told me that your current, no, look, I completely understand, but you told me that, this isn't working, and this isn't as fast as it could be. The package that we're trying to pitch here will solve this, this, and this. I couldn't do that because I haven't asked those questions. The same goes for real estate. The moments in which that I know somebody could easily pull out is when I haven't qualified or prospected or qualified them fully. That if they raise objections with me, then I can't fall back on some of the stuff that they've already said because I haven't asked the questions, because I'm focusing too much on trying to get the deal done and not qualifying them correctly. So those are the times in which that I know that as a client is most likely to pull out. That, and when they don't speak English, 100%, because then I can't build a rapport with them. Then I can't find common ground, and then it's more difficult to qualify them because things can be lost in translation. Those are the two times where I know that somebody could easily pull out and it feels slippery or something. It feels like, at any moment this could just escape out of my hands. And that isn't the position that you really want to put yourself within real estate, because you need to understand somebody completely to the finest degree, and they need to know that you understand them exactly, and they need to hear from you words of confirmation that you know exactly what they need, or you know exactly what they're looking for, and you know exactly some of the things that are their current pain points, and what they're looking to solve, and how you can solve that together. So within that, the skills that are required are the ability to problem solve, as we've said, the ability to ask good questions, and the ability to slow down and ask the right questions. But it's also the ability to pick your winners, pick the person closest to close. And I think that is going to allow you to get a good overview of your client's pain points, exactly what they need. And it will ensure that you become a better broker, and it will ensure that you will be able to close a large number of deals whilst being able to understand what somebody needs fully. So I think it's taking that time, trying to understand somebody fully, understand that you mightn't be able to qualify them fully until you get to the viewing and fully understand exactly what they're going through. So for me, the viewing is only going to be a second qualification where I really deeply get to exactly where they're currently staying, how far do they have to travel to work, what does their life look like on a daily basis, will this location, will this apartment add to that, and what are their priorities? Is their priority lifestyle? Is their priority proximity to work? Is their priority affordableness? Is their priority views? Is their priority how well it's located into some of the major areas here? So it's understanding exactly what somebody needs, and the best brokers understand and qualify somebody to the highest degree, where they know exactly what this person needs and needs from them, and then they provide that. That is one aspect of being a good broker, and that ties in with problem solving. And that ties in with me having to problem solve through ChatGPT. So try not and rely on ChatGPT. If you do use it in an email, don't make sure to remove the last text and separate the emotions from the issue and take a step back and understand that it's actually not that deep and you can actually get to a solution without causing internal strife or chaos.